Yesterday we had a commentary on Trevor Ncube, where he was castigating the government for trampling on the rights of the journalists, and in particular on the rights of Blessed Mhlang. While going through the comments, I realized that people were saying we did not do justice by not mentioning that Trevor Ncube had a passionate hatred for Nelson Chamisa. And since Nelson Chamisa is the people's president, I thought today will be the day that I'll talk to you about the tiff between Nelson Chamisa and Trevor Ncube, or rather the hatred that Trevor Ncube had on Nelson Chamisa and how the followers of Nelson Chamisa kept on defending and still are defending Nelson Chamisa. So this is our story today. Trevor Ncube is learning the hard way that the internet never forgets, and neither do Chamisa loyalists, who have turned his timeline into a public flogging session with the efficiency of a well-oiled Twitter tribunal. His crime? Daring to complain about the government's arrest of his employee, Blessed Mhlang, after years of cheerleading for the same regime. The irony is so thick, you could spread it on a toast. It's as if the very same crocodile he once fed has now turned around and beaten him. And the internet is here for the show, popcorn in hand. Now, Ncube, who once made a sport out of belittling Nelson Chamisa and his supporters, is crying foul over government repression. And the people are responding with the digital equivalent of a slow, sarcastic clap. Also, now you see the light. They ask, raising their eyebrows higher than the price of millimil. The collective response has been nothing short of brutal, as Twitter users remind him that back in the day, he was practically Mnangagwa's personal hype man. If Mnangagwa had sneezed, Ncube would have written an editorial praising his lung efficiency. If ED had so much as winked, Trevor would have called it a masterstroke in diplomatic relations. But now he's suddenly the loudest voice against the same system he once serenaded like a teenage boy with a crush. Chamisa's supporters have dug up every snide remark, every dismissive tweet, every smug put down that Ncube ever directed at their leader. And boy, did they keep the receipts. It's like watching a digital exorcism where every past betrayal is paraded for public scrutiny. One user mocked Ncube's sudden epiphany, saying, "You supported this man when we were telling you he was bad. Now that you have seen it for yourself, stop crying because you propped him up before." Another one compared his situation to someone raising a baby crocodile and then acting shocked when it grows up and eats them for breakfast. But to Ncube's credit, like we reported yesterday, he has at least done something most of Mnangagwa's remaining cheerleaders wouldn't dare. Admit he was wrong. Well, wrong about Mnangagwa, not so sure about Chamisa. A rare feat in Zimbabwean politics where people flip sides without ever acknowledging their past sins. Yes, he has publicly confessed that he misjudged Mnangagwa, though in classic politician adjacent style, he conveniently sidestepped any mention of his relentless anti-Chamisa crusade. An apology? Oh no, let's not get ahead of ourselves. He may have waved the white flag on Mnangagwa, but when it comes to Chamisa, it seems he is still holding on to those receipts like a ZANU-PF minister clinging to his offshore bank accounts. One is to wonder, Does he genuinely still believe his old rants about Chamisa? Or is he just too stubborn to admit that he might have been wrong on two fronts? A man can only handle so much public humiliation at once, after all. Perhaps he's keeping the Chamisa criticism in his back pocket, just in case he needs to redeem some credibility with the very regime he's now disillusioned with. Or maybe, just maybe, he still thinks Chamisa is the problem in a country where fuel queues are longer than the list of government scandals. But let's not be too harsh. The fact that Ncube has at least mustered up the courage to say I was wrong about Mnangagwa is already more than can be said for the remaining cheerleaders of the so-called Second Republic. While others continue to gaslight the nation into believing that Zimbabwe is open for business, while businesses are literally closing down, Ncube has at least managed to jump ship before it completely sinks. Sure, he might be dripping wet and desperately trying to distance himself from his past enthusiasm for the captain, but he made it off the deck nonetheless. Of course, the internet is having none of his half-measure redemption arc. Chamisa loyalists are still treating him like a man who just realized his house is on fire years after they warned him about the smoke. We told you this guy was a fraud, but no, you were busy throwing stones at Chamisa, they scream, as Ncube tries to tiptoe his way out of political embarrassment. If anything, the public wants full accountability. A proper, chest-out, microphone in hand, preacher-style confession. Acknowledging Mnangagwa was a mistake is one thing, but until he admits that his relentless Chamisa bashing was part of the problem, the people are unlikely to let him off the hook. So here we are, Trevor Ncube, now stuck in political purgatory. Not quite a government bootlicker anymore, but also not yet forgiven by the opposition faithfuls. It's the kind of political limbo that even Zimbabwe's most seasoned flip-floppers would struggle to navigate. Will he ever make peace with Chamisa's supporters? Will he go full opposition now? Or is he just rebranding his stance for survival? Only time will tell. But for now, the internet court remains in session, and Ncube is the defendant in a trial that has no end in sight. And as the online dragging continues, one thing is clear. Trevor Ncube has officially entered the chat. Just a few years too late. Subscribe to Zimwaves TV for more commentary on Zim politicians.
Vageza kupinda mumugwagwa varuive hondo imi magandanga vechidiki naivo vatana mawindi memavenda varairi dzine masoja tese tatomira negumbo rimwe kuti timhanye ko imi muchadaidzira rini kana kuwedza bhuru wayo kana kumbungo pashurugwi vechidiki naivo vatana mawindi memavenda varairi dzine masoja tese tatomira negumbo rimwe kuti timhanye ko imi muchadaidzira rini muzvikoro nanachiremba muzvitoro tayasipora vechidiki malinda varairi dzine masoja tese tatomira negumbo rimwe kuti timhanye ko imi muchadaidzira rini.
We've been mobilizing ourselves to deliver the final blow to a dictatorship that lacks any wisdom or empathy. We are now ready to deliver the final push, a push that needs all of us to face the odds and build a new country. We are going to give you a clearer signal soon. It will come before 2300 hours tonight, so that we end this 2030